Welcome back to Morning Trade Live. Time to go inside out on Microsoft and Meta platforms ahead of tomorrow's reports. Joining me now, Angelo Zino, senior equity analyst at CFRA Research. Thank you for being here, Angelo. Great to see you. Let's start with Microsoft. Your thoughts? I mean, the Azure growth is something that you like to focus on. Tell me more.
Yeah, so thanks, Nicole. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I think as far as Microsoft's results are concerned, it's all about Azure. It has been here for a while. We're looking for mid-30s growth. Let's call it about 35% growth. It would actually be an acceleration from what we saw in the March quarter. That's pretty much what's baked here into the expectations. I think the expectations have probably gone up over the last week since Alphabet reported, a better than expected number on their Google Cloud business. So I'd expect there hopefully to be some upside here in terms of their cloud business, but the expectations I think are a lot higher from Microsoft. Not to mention, I think the AI contribution is a number they typically throw out for Azure. We're looking for something along the lines of 16 to 18 points contribution relative to about 16 points last quarter and 13 points the quarter before. So there is kind of greater momentum as far as what's driving cloud right now, and that is the AI side of things.
And you did say we might need a beat and a raise for some of these names. For example, the recent strength in Microsoft and Meta mean that they have now the highest bars to beat. They remain cleanest AI stories, but maybe we'll need to see more. Right now, we have Microsoft trading at a level of 515. Where could this be headed?
Yeah, so Nicole, our 12-month target price is $550. I will say this, I mean, you kind of, as the street starts looking towards calendar 2027, which is where we're starting to push, our estimates out to, we do think there is upside to that 550. So I do think there is upside, let's call it 15 to 20%, upside to the shares here over the next 12 months. Because of the fact that you continue to see the upward revisions in terms of the earnings trajectory. I think also a key story here for Microsoft specifically will be the capex spend. So this is their year-end quarter in terms of the June quarter. They won't give you an actual number, I don't think, for the year ahead. But we do think that they're probably going to provide a more bullish type of take in terms of the capex spend here over the next 12 months, just based on what we've heard from Google and just what we've seen over the last couple of months from these more complex reasoning models, which will require more capex spend.
And you have buy ratings on these names. I mean, for example, Google, Alphabet, you have a buy rating and a 210 target. For Meta, you have a 12-month target of 800 and a buy rating. Tell me a little bit about that story ahead of the earnings. Should people be stepping in here and buying at 715 today?
Yeah, I mean, so for Meta, it's a tough one because the numbers will be perfectly fine just based on what we've seen out of Alphabet in terms of the overall digital ad market here in the second quarter. It looks like it has improved based on what we saw, just from April and in Q3. That it should continue to improve also. So we do think the numbers are going to be perfectly fine for Meta. They actually increased the capex number last quarter, so we don't expect them to increase it again. They kind of got ahead of the curve relative to the other hyperscalers out there. But what I will say here is they're going to probably increase their OPEX number. They are spending very aggressively, more so than anybody else in terms of this top AI talent. So there could potentially be downside risk because of the higher OPEX figure that they're going to provide. But that being said, it's all going to be about the type of commentary they provide over the next 2 to 3 years as far as the creation of the superintelligence group, what they have to say about AI. And we do expect Zuckerberg to really kind of throw a very, very positive tone in terms of the AI story. Not to mention, I mean, you've got Llama 4, their behemoth model that has been delayed. If you can kind of strike a positive tone on that side of things in terms of a potential, rampant launch of that, again, I think that'll be a positive for the stock here.
And there have been reports that the China minister has met the U.S. delegation, including Apple in Beijing. Apple, you have a 12-month target and 235 target there, and a buy rating. Unafraid, some people have been a little tepid on Apple. You're not.
So we're afraid. we're afraid this quarter as far as the Apple story is concerned, right? I mean, I have a hard time thinking that they're going to throw much guidance as far as the forward-looking quarter is concerned. We'll see. But that's what we're a little bit concerned about, because you have this pending 232 investigation that is out there. We're going to get, based on what Lutnick said a couple of days ago, we expect to get some clarity on that here over the next couple of weeks. But that said, Apple doesn't know what that number is going to be. It'll be interesting to kind of, again, see whether or not they provide any forward-looking guidance on the revenue or the margin side. Maybe they provide one over the other, because we do think pricing and what have you is going to be a bit dictated based on what some of these tariffs are going to be. So we're a little bit concerned about what they're going to say as far as this quarter is concerned. We think that the numbers are going to be fine. But again, as far as the guidance is concerned, I think they may have limited visibility to provide much to the street. And whether or not the street reacts positively or negatively to that, I think remains to be seen. But there's probably downside near term, but we continue to like this story. We think investors should look past this quarter, because 2026, we think, will be a much better story.
Is it obvious to you which ones are exceeding in the AI monetization part of the story? Because there's AI initiatives, the fundamentals are looking good, the AI arms race, but the AI monetization is really the story in the end. Is it clear to you which names in the Mag 7 are seeing that best?
I think Microsoft's seeing it best in terms of growing AI profitably. I mean, obviously, NVIDIA is in a class of its own among the Mag 7. We all know that. We know they're growing their earnings trajectory much better than anybody else, because they're seeing immediate results there. In terms of kind of being able to drive the story profitably, or try to kind of see the greatest AI monetization story out there, I think it's going to be Microsoft. Based on what we're seeing on this side of things. I think they're also going to be a little bit more prudent on the capex spend side of things relative to some of the others, focusing a little bit more of what they're doing internally with Copilot. Because if we are going to see some sort of potential shakeout or oversupply situation at some point in time in the future, that is a risk towards the whole AI story. It's not something we're calling out over the next 12 to 18 months. But it is a risk factor at some point in time where supply could potentially exceed demand, right? So that's something that's lingering out there, and I think that's something that Microsoft is very they're definitely focused on right now.
Right, understood. Angelo Zino, CFRA, great to see you. Thank you so very, very much. Really appreciate it. Tom White is here, host of Fast Market, taking a look at some example trades. So Microsoft, a name where Angelo had a strong buy rating and a 550 target. Your thoughts on an example trade here?
Well, you take a look at the stocks just near those all-time highs. The RSI on it, so if you look at it on a technical basis, the chart's kind of reflective that it's overbought at this point. Remember, it was the laggard in 2024 when the Mag 7 was rallying. But it's caught a bid this year. The RSI is about 72 level, so overbought. You can see there from the chart. And typically we don't see Microsoft get overbought too much because it's a slower mover maybe out of the Mag 7 names. Option market's pricing in only a plus or minus about 3.5% move in the shares either way, about $19 either way. So not a lot expected, but typically when you see these rallies, a lot of the implied volatility levels start to come down, even though there is that event risk out there. So I looked at a strategy that takes advantage of maybe you can profit in 3 out of 4 scenarios, right? The stock goes lower, stock stays where it is, or stock even goes higher. You can be wrong and still be profitable on this short out of the money call vertical that's neutral to bearish. Going out to the August 1st weekly option, so really short-term positioning. Just 3 days to expiration. We're going to sell the 530 strike call, and then against that buy the 540 strike call. So a short $10 wide, neutral to bearish call vertical. You're collecting roughly about $250 credit on it. That's what you can make, $250 per spread, but it takes your break even all the way up to $532.50 over the next 3 days. That's about 3% above the current share price. So almost at that 1 standard deviation move that the option market's pricing in. The probability of that 530 strike being out of the money at expiration, which is what you want, right? You want this thing to go out worthless after collecting a $250 credit. It's about 68 to 70% probability that that short 530 strike will be out of the money, which is what you're trying to go after on strategies like this. You're taking advantage of the higher implied volatility levels with that event risk, but then also giving yourself a better probability of success.
All right, and then, thank you for that. And then for Meta, he also had a buy. Microsoft was a strong buy. In Meta, he had a buy, and he had an $800 price target. Today, it's around $715 for Meta. What's your example trade there?
A little bit different. We're going to look on the put side. The stock's just about 3%, 3.5% off of those all-time highs that we hit just a couple of weeks ago. Option market in here pricing about a plus or minus just over 5% move either way, just about $37. So maybe some higher implied volatility levels. But I looked at a strategy that same type of basis where I can be wrong on this one, but still be profitable. It's a neutral to bullish type strategy. It's an unbalanced or broken wing put butterfly to the downside where I actually take in a credit when I initiate it. So the option series is the August 1st weekly option. So once again, really short-term positioning here, just 3 days to expiration, an earnings type play here. We're going to buy one of the out-of-the-money 700 strike puts, sell two of the 695 strike puts, and then to make it risk defined by one of the 670 strike puts. So you can see there it's unbalanced where you're buying a $5 wide bearish put vertical, offsetting the cost to allow you to collect a credit by selling the $25 wide short put vertical that creates this butterfly strategy here. You're going to collect a credit of around $5.30. That's what you can make above $700 level here in Meta platform. So if the stock just kind of stays here, goes a little bit higher, you just get to keep the credit that you collected. Now you can see here from the risk profile, you get that little kicker around the 695 strike where you sold two options on this one. That's where you get max profitability on this one. By collecting 530, it takes your break even all the way down to 684.70 to the downside over the next 3 days. That's about 4.5% below the current share price. So about that one standard deviation there. But it feels like Meta Platforms pulled back from those all-time highs. If you think that it's at least going to stay where it is, maybe go a little bit lower, but remain above basically about 685. This strategy takes advantage of it. And as I mentioned, anything above the 700 level is just good to keep that credit that you collected.
Okay. Tom White, thank you for those example trades on these big Mag 7 names as we await for the earnings. Thank you very much. We looked at Meta and Microsoft.